What exactly did black people ever do? Like, I'm genuinely asking, what did we ever do to deserve anti-blackness in every single community? We were brought over here in chains. We were beat, raped, and murdered. We fought for our freedom just to end up with Jim Crow and segregation and being lynched by the KKK, who our president calls fine people. We were segregated into our own communities, then denied jobs, denied funding for our schools. You kill our black men, then make fun of us for not having fathers. You dehumanize and demonize and kill our black women, and nobody bats an eye. What exactly did black people do? What exactly did we do?
White skin wishes to survive, it therefore has to dominate all the people who could cause white genetic annihilation. That is the meaning of racism. Racism, in other words, is a global system of behavior that is for the purpose of white genetic survival on the planet Earth. This is quite different than we have been accustomed to looking at it. We have said it's all about economics, and you'll get over. It's not quite as simple as we used to think that it was. That Mr. Neely Fuller is the first person to have said that we are dealing with a global behavioral system. We are not just dealing with segregation, discrimination, that you cannot sit on a particular toilet, that you cannot live in a particular neighborhood, that you cannot go to a particular school. That is the superficial aspect of the problem. He said the reason is that there has to be white domination, period. That all over the planet Earth there has to be domination by people who classify themselves as white. Mr. Fuller went forward, and let me just say here, I brought 5 copies of his book, and so maybe somebody wants to buy them from me. If not, I can tell you how to get them. But he said that the system, this behavioral system, for the purpose of white genetic survival, that the system is carried out in all areas of people activity. It is carried out in economics. It is carried out in education. It is carried out in entertainment. It is carried out in labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Do you get the picture? This is quite a different picture than somebody isolating economics and saying that's all that it's about. Or somebody isolating the area of education and saying that's all that it's about. Or somebody else isolating the area of law and politics and saying that's all that it's about. He said, no, it is a global system of behavior that encompasses all areas of people activity for the specific purpose of white domination, which I, in my work, translated it into white genetic survival. The reason that Malcolm X was killed, because he was talking about maybe force and the bullet. But the critical question, Dr. Martin Luther King was also killed. And he was talking about love and nonviolence, but he was killed. And see, you have to answer questions, well, why? Maybe I can understand why Brother Malcolm was killed, but why Dr. Martin Luther King? That if you understand racism at the level that I am discussing it here, you will understand that Dr. Martin Luther King talked about love. And if everybody got in the pot, white plus black, brown, red, and yellow. This is a smart class. That because the issue was not simply economics, that the fundamental issue was white genetic survival, and love would negate it. I see that you're following me. That because we are talking about something different. Is there an eraser? Because we are talking about white genetic survival, it helps us understand some other things that have seemingly puzzled us. If it is about economics, why destroy the black man and let the woman go? See, we have to answer that question. Why are black men filling the prisons? Why are black men on the corner with alcohol or drugs? Why are the black men unemployed to the level that they are unemployed? That question has to be answered by any description of a system. If you say, well, this is what it's all about, then your answer about what it's all about has to explain it. The reason that black people in general are under attack, and that black men in particular are under attack, is because of the fundamental issue of white genetic survival. Can women cause white genetic annihilation? Let the A students answer. See, you have to think about everything. You have to think about everything that you already know. No, the women are not an equal threat to white genetic survival. Women are not an equal threat to white genetic survival because women cannot force sexual intercourse. Are you with me? Yeah. See, it's silence like somebody saying women are not equal. No, everybody's equal. But we do different things. Okay? If a woman tries to force a man to have sexual intercourse, pull your M16 rifle. Okay? And say you better, right? The man will lose his erection. See, you cannot force sexual intercourse. For that reason, in the framework of a problem about white genetic survival, I said this is the fundamental problem. And because this is the fundamental problem, and because women, whether they are white, brown, black, red, yellow, cannot force sexual intercourse, but men, whether they are white, black, brown, red, and yellow, can force sexual intercourse. And mind you, I'm not talking about rape. You see, I'm not saying that black men are rapists. I'm only saying that the anatomy of the human male is such that he controls the sexual relationship. So that because white men had gone all over the planet and imposed themselves sexually on all of the black, brown, red, and yellow women, the thought was then, well, what if the black, brown, red, and yellow men, and here's Europe, what if they all decided to descend on this? You see, then there would be white genetic annihilation. So that if the fundamental problem is that there has to be white genetic survival, then the problem becomes both the male and the female, but much more so the male than the female. Now, many people use the word apartheid, and when they use that word, their brain computer jumps over to South Africa. And they say, we must do something about apartheid over there somewhere. But I advocate not using words that confuse the brain, but using words and phrases that clarify issues. Apartheid is a word that means white supremacy. It means that the 22 million black people must be controlled by the 4 million people who classify themselves as white for the purpose of white genetic survival, not for the purpose of economics. This is absolutely essential that black people everywhere begin to understand this issue. It is our fear that causes us not to face it.
Yes.
Okay? Now, because of the issue of white genetic survival and its very specific attack on the male, we have what we call the collapse of the black family. Why? Because it takes a male who is a breadwinner, see how quiet it got, and a female who can nurture children to make family. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Don't let anybody tell you that family equals female and children. Because in a very short time you will have a feminization of the male. In the next little while you will have bisexuality. And the next little while you will have homosexuality. And now we have an epidemic of bisexuality and homosexuality, whereas in Africa we had none. So that if the male is knocked out, you have, like they would say, damn near the defeat of the people. Okay, so we have that. So don't get nervous.
In Africa, yes, because there is a policy of the American government. It's called the Kissinger Report, which was produced in the mid-70s when Henry Kissinger was involved with the government. And it explicitly states, which to this day, it remains the official policy of the American government. It has not changed. It may not be implemented by Trump, but it remains the same. That the purpose of the foreign policy in Africa was to reduce the population. So to give aid to countries in Africa, not clean water and schooling and things like that, but contraception and abortion, in order to shrink the population of Africa, because they have great mineral resources there.
That sounds diabolical.
It is, yes.
That sounds like something conceived in the mind of Margaret Sanger.
Yeah, definitely. And so at the time, Kissinger and those involved with the Carter administration wanted to shrink the population, make sure that the Africans do not develop and do not use the resources for themselves, because we in the States, we need them. There is a concerted effort of foreign powers to control the population of Africa. Africa is a huge continent, could feed thousands of more people, but the policies of the West, especially in Europe. For example, between 1990 and the year 2000, the United States, Canada, and Europe contributed about $6 billion in contraceptives, not to help the people, not to give clean water, clean food. That is
not to fight malaria, for example.
No, of course, perish the thought, never. Yeah. Let them die. That's the whole idea.
C'est vous qui avez organisé ce colloque, c'est vous qui le présidez.
Oui, on peut dire le contraire, oui.
Et pourquoi ce colloque, justement?
Eh bien, parce que d'abord, je suis un agité, mais en dehors de cette considération, il y a le fait que je suis extraordinairement préoccupé par l'explosion démographique de l'Afrique. Et avec toute la sympathie que je porte aux Africains, je crains que ça ne se traduise par un débordement humain, c'est-à-dire des courants migratoires écrasants et qui vont, je serai brutal, tuer la civilisation européenne. Parce que avoir 2 ou 3% d'Africains en Europe, c'est parfait. En avoir 30%, c'est la mort sans phrase. Alors je reviens un peu en arrière, j'ai écouté des intervenants avec sympathie, notamment Gourevitch, qui avait l'air de dire, bon, finalement, le danger est lointain, il est plus mesuré. C'est pas vrai. Le danger, il est là. Parce qu'en démographie, on peut faire des prévisions à peu près sûres à 30 ans. Mais nous sommes en 2015. 30 plus 2015, c'est 2045. Donc c'est demain, en réalité. Le problème, il n'est pas dans 3000 ans, il est dans 3-4 décennies. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle il faut réagir maintenant. D'ailleurs, ce que je propose, ce n'est pas de larguer des bombes atomiques sur l'Afrique. Ce que je propose, c'est un plan Marshall massif pour le développement de l'Afrique, un plan conditionnel, mais quand même qui soit contrôlé, comme d'ailleurs le fait le Fonds monétaire international, et deuxièmement, un programme massif visant à la libération de la femme africaine. La condition féminine en Afrique, qu'on le veuille ou non, est abominable. Elle l'est encore abominable. Or, c'est la femme africaine qui détient la clé de l'avenir du continent.
Est-ce que c'est pas donner une réponse occidentale à un problème africain et justement rentrer dans les mêmes erreurs qu'il y a pu avoir pendant la colonisation?
Vous avez tout à fait raison, c'est une réponse occidentale parce qu'il n'y en a pas d'autre. C'est un problème africain parce que c'est pas le nôtre. Nous, c'est l'inverse. Nos femmes n'ont pas assez d'enfants et on leur reproche avec suffisamment de force. Et donc, par conséquent, puisque les Africains n'ont pas été capables d'inventer la réponse eux-mêmes, eh bien, il faut bien que quelqu'un le fasse et c'est nous.
Vous prenez un personnage qui est très connu, le fondateur de Microsoft, Bill Gates. Ouais. Bon, il est plus chez Microsoft, il a une fondation. Vous savez ce qu'il fait en Afrique?
The benefits there in terms of reducing sickness, reducing the population growth. We have success on it. And the benefits there in terms of reducing sickness, reducing the population growth, it really allows a society a chance to take care of itself once you've made that.
Ouais, ben je sais qu'il agit énormément en Afrique.
Oui, et ces vaccins sont pas innocents. Il l'a dit dans des conférences qui sont passées inaperçues. Il a dit, si on ne réduit pas de 75% de la population mondiale, on va au désastre. On n'aura plus d'animaux, on n'aura plus d'espace vert, etc. Et quand il va en Afrique, ce qu'il fait à travers ces vaccins, c'est pour apporter un bien-être, mais il le dit clairement, il faut stériliser, c'est tous, malheureusement, ils le disent. Le groupe Bilderberg et plein d'autres personnes le disent clairement.